Welcome everyone to the Martinsville Speedway and another full weekend of NASCAR racing action on speed. Opened back in 1947, Martinsville is one of the most historic racetracks anywhere, and we're getting set for some of the toughest tailgaters anywhere as the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series gets set to take the track here that they call the Big Paperclip under sunny blue skies in Martinsville, Virginia.
Practice underway. John Wood, fastest of the trucks that have been on the racetrack. Only 8 laps have been turned by the most. That's Colin Braun out there on the track now in his Conway Ford. You see the yellow stripe. He actually ran in this race a year ago, or the last time we were at Martinsville. So he does have some experience. When I talked to him earlier this morning, he said, you know, I feel almost like this is the most experience I've ever felt coming to a racetrack because I've been here before and because of all the testing.
Yeah, over 500 laps, as we mentioned earlier. But Colin has a lot of talent, 19 years old, very young guy, but he is registered for the Rookie of the Year program. That's why he will run that yellow stripe on his bumper all year long, even though he has been at this racetrack.
There's Colin Braun on the racetrack. Adam Alexander.
And Colin Braun currently 7th on the board, Rick. They feel pretty comfortable with it, just a bit free, so they've made some minor adjustments. Crew Chief Mike Beam saying, I don't want to do too much to it because I feel like we're going to get a better reading on this racetrack as far as race conditions this afternoon, because this afternoon's practice the same time we'll race here tomorrow. And you talk about experience. He came here, as you guys pointed out earlier, last fall to make his Truck Series debut. And when we tested here 2 weeks ago, he turned more than 500 laps in that truck. I know testing is not racing, but Phil, that's got to go a long way in getting him comfortable for tomorrow afternoon's event.
Boy, it really does. And there's nothing like laps. I mean, at any racetrack, laps are what young guys like Colin Braun desperately need, and he got a bunch of them here a couple of weeks ago.
Colin Braun. He is now fastest in this practice, 20.096. His 38th lap run. Colin Braun up on top now. Final minutes of practice winding down from Martinsville. This is the first practice. They'll be back on the racetrack a little bit later today. Also, Cup qualifying will take place today on speed. You see the 6 of Colin Braun. They're pushing that truck back to its stall. Pretty fast for that young man, that 19-year-old. 20.096 on his 38th lap. He's only run 39. So maybe a qualifying run. Is that possible?
It's possible. Right now, the top 8 trucks are all within 1/10 of a second here. All of them within 1/10 of what Colin Braun ran right.
Take a look at our practice times here. Colin Braun fastest. Ted Musgrave rounded out the top. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway for our second practice and final practice for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here in Martinsville, Virginia. Colin Braun and that number 6, fastest in the first practice session today. Currently 5th quickest. A little bit slower than what he ran earlier today. Jack Sprague now is setting the pace at 20.09 seconds, so he's picked it up.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Beam right before the first practice session, and he said they had such a great test here a couple of weeks ago. Ran over 500 laps here with this 6 truck, so they're very optimistic for Colin Braun here to maybe get that thing up in the top 5, and so far so good. Again, quickest first practice in the top 10 here this practice.
You know, I heard y'all talking a little earlier about the reduction in horsepower that these trucks have here compared to the Cup cars. Probably what, Phil, 75?
75 they're talking about.
Horsepower less, but still the speeds are very comparable. The Cup cars are high 1988 I think was the quickest. You got the truck here at a 2009. I think it just goes to show the importance of being able to put the power down. I know you remember this. When we used to come here back in the day, we would actually detune our cars because they had so much power that you'd spin the tires and you couldn't get going. And with this combination here, you can just mat it. That's how you used to know if you were getting around here right or not, though. You'd come in and all the paint be rubbed off your left front tire because you'd have that baby right against that curve. See?
You want to be against it.
Right.
On top of it's not necessarily a good thing, but you want to be against it.
You just want to be up against it.
In 2003, it was here that Carl Edwards went over the curb about 3 times, I believe.
Still, just tight off the corner.
Listening to Colin Braun there. Also a part of the Roush Fenway organization, but I do remember Carl Edwards struggling. I mean, he was running into other trucks because he kept hitting that curb and it'd shoot him out to the wall almost.
Oh yeah, it'll do that.
Just about it.
Well, you guys confused me for a second because you said from red to green and white. I thought you were talking about the hot dogs. I thought, no, they can't change the color of those. I realized you were talking about the fans' apparel in the stands, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans. Another guy down here, Colin, now is it Brown or Braun?
Braun.
Yeah, okay, Brown, yes. That was, I had to, Rick, you know.
Yeah, but don't listen to me, because Colin Braun was earlier going to be on trackside.
Well, Colin Braun, he said that he was very tight in the corners. He's now just a little bit free in and off. He's, relatively a rookie, a young guy here at this track especially. So when he asked for advice, they said the only thing they could tell him, follow the 5. That was their advice.
That's pretty good advice.
It would have worked out well last year.
Final laps being run by a few trucks making their way back out onto the racetrack. One being Kyle Busch. He went back out and definitely picked up his speed.
Yeah, he did, but every time we look up, there's a new sheriff in town. Now Colin Braun is back on top in the 6 truck. So,
a young sheriff.
Yeah, put that. Remember we were talking about maybe they didn't have any tape or any tire. They put tape and tires on, and now look where he is.